So Chidera, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I didn't get a chance to download that link that you sent me. I've just been
Okay.
busy.
I know it seems like you're a busy man.
Yeah. Well, I'm not in front of the computer right now, but as soon as I am, I will.
All
Let
right.
you know.
Anytime. I will make myself available. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Six minutes in. Name the person. Okay, Father is joining. Good evening, Father.
Yeah, good evening, my brother.
I'm good. How take I go on one?
No, we do.
We thank God.
Every day is a gift and a blessing.
Amen. So only God knows. He keeps us alive.
Taking it one day at a time, man.
So how far with your job quest?
What's that?
How far with your job quest?
Yeah, I just want to going through the resume. I'm making a note on all the ball points on my resume.
All right.
Yeah,
if you need any help with that, let me know, okay?
No problem. I just
hello, Delight. How are you? It's like there are 4 of us here now, and we can start, please. There's no need wasting any more time. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Welcome to today's session. We are 8 minutes in. Let's give like 2 extra minutes. See, you know what? There's no need. There's no need giving any more minutes because somebody like Delight would like to go to bed and save her data also since she's here. Let us pray so we can continue. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
King of glory, Father Almighty, we thank you once again for another beautiful day, another beautiful morning for those that are joining from overseas. We bless your holy name for making it possible for us to see this very moment. And as we have gathered, O Lord, we pray that our gathering will be fruitful for the gift of knowledge that you've given us, O Lord. Let us exercise it. Let us understand whatever that we will go through today. And at the end, let your blessings and let the gift of the reason why we have come together be fulfilled unto us. In Jesus Christ, your Son, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you so much for joining. Today is a beginning of a new session. There's always a new dimension to what we do. One thing is the only person that fails is the person that stops trying. And I believe that I am on a good course with you guys in terms of what we're pursuing. I have to do my part as an instructor, as a mentor. The rest, I will put that on your court. But at the same time, like a mentor will be, I will always tell you the right place, the right angle, the best approach to follow in anything that we're doing. I had an interview yesterday. It was, I would say, after the HR call. This was like a phone call just to make sure that what is in the resume is what the person is. And they're going to set up the third and final interview that will be technical and behavioral interview. So what I've been doing lately is listing up on the technical part. I have that down pat. I'm still studying on it because all I did yesterday was almost the whole day preparing from morning, even ever since the weekend, preparing for the interview by going through the job specification and making sure that every bullet point on that job specification, I know what it's talking about. I don't want to talk about the company yet, but if it materializes or whatever the outcome is after the third interview, I will let us know. So it was very exciting. Every day is a discovery. For every company that you are interviewing, you have to research on them. You have to research on the person that is going to interview you. You have to know who the person is, where the person had worked before. If you go to LinkedIn, those things are part of passive reconnaissance that you do, finding out where the person had worked. Bring that part as part of the conversation. It makes it look very you personify the person. It makes it look like you are serious about what you're doing. Research about the history of the company, know what the company does, if they ever merged, who did they merge, why did they merge, how did the company come to be? I mean, everything that are in the public domain about the company, know them and let that be part of your conversation. Bring that in as part of your conversation. I wrote at least about 10 pages of what I think I needed to cover as I was preparing for the interview. How I will talk about myself, telling my story to walk with my resume chronologically from bottom to top. Researching on the job specifications, finding things that are very new, see how I can tally it to what I know, and all those things will work. And I think I did my best. Hopefully after that interview, I'll let you guys know. All right. But today we are starting a new session, and in this, like we always do, we always talk about risk management. Okay, and risk management is, these are our risk management, or the risk management that we teach in this that we go through in this class, in this session, is about cybersecurity risk management based on National Institute of Standard and Technology publication, special publication called NIST 800 SP, NIST 800 special publication 37. And I have some fruit flies in the house. That's one thing with buying fruits. And I don't like my fruits in the fridge, just too cold. Anyway, so we'll be talking about cybersecurity risk management framework, and we will be diving into various aspects of risk and risk management. And you will find out that in this industry that we are as a cybersecurity analyst, when you deal with compliance, especially compliance in this part of the country deals with managing risk. What do you do every day to protect human life? And in turn, bring revenue to the company. You cannot bring security to the extent that it prevents the company from making money. The goal of the company is to make money. Imagine having a computer that is so hardened in the sense that everything about the computer is hidden because of security. Imagine what you can do with it. Imagine going to a kiosk, okay? A kiosk that you see when you enter a building, a kiosk terminal. It is a hardened computer. It's reduced to its minimal usage that you can only just see an interface and you'll be presented with just what you need to use at that moment. It's always boring. It's a boring interface and you just click this, and select that. But you don't want to apply security to the extent that it affects the usage of the tools that people work with. So risk management is a yin-yang approach in terms of security and productivity. Okay. So this training covers the 7 domains of certified authorization professional, which is CAP exam, organized by the ISC Squared, provides an understanding of the risk management approach to authorizing IT system based on the new NIST risk management framework in support of the update FISMA regulation. Most of the terminologies that we use here is mostly for the part of the country that we are, which is NIST. But what happened is that NIST was actually drawn up based on COBIT and ISO. The ISO is an international standard. COBIT is an international standard. And since NIST is based on these two, it correlates very well with COBIT and ISO. For individuals responsible for formalizing process used to assess risk and establish security requirement and documentation, beneficial for security authorization assessors, auditors, investors, and practitioners, as well as finance experts. CAP qualifies under the DoD 8570-1 mandate, which is for Department of Defense. So our classes are Tuesday, Wednesdays. We also have included Thursday training, and the training method is Zoom. The classroom is Zoom, and within the period of the session and beyond, my number is always open. You can always call me. If I can't talk to you at the moment, I will always schedule a time or text me so that we can schedule a time to speak. Even those overseas, I always do call also. So make our time to speak to me. The more you speak to me, the more we break things down for those of you that are coming in for the first time, this class might sound very, it will be like we're speaking Greek. But I bet you by the end of the class, it will start making sense. By the time you come next time, it will make more sense. So as we continue, I don't know if it will make sense. I'd like for us to introduce ourselves. I would like for us to, most of us, I know you guys, but I know Delight, you are new here. Please, starting with Chidera, please just introduce yourself and tell us why you're here. That would be good, if you can. Hello, Chidera. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Chidera. I saw you.
My name is Chidera, 23 years old. I'm currently studying at Rutgers. I found this class about maybe 8 months ago. I've been interested in IT since I was a senior in high school. I heard about it. I started taking computer science, then sophomore year, I decided to switch to IT because I was more interested in like networking and servers, how everything works. Because I've been really into video games, so I wanted to know how to just basically how everything works, how the server works, and so I stayed with that for about 2 years. I got my associates in business. Well, yeah, I got my associates in business and jumped to the Rutgers business IT program. I didn't really like it first semester. I kind of got a little discouraged. And then I heard about this class, so I decided to come to this class. And yeah, since I've been taking this class, it's been making me, it's been giving me more information about IT, information technology. I started going back to school. I think I'll graduate in 2022. No, 2023, sorry. And yeah, it's a good class. I've learned a lot more in this class than I learned in most computer science or information technology classes in that school. So, I mean, I think everybody that's new here should stay with it because Austin, he really pays attention to you and he'll give you whatever you need. We will go over certain things about virtual machines and networking, stuff like that. So he'll give you those tools. So I just think, he's a good mentor and he's a good teacher. He's better for the job. I don't think you'll learn anything hands-on, especially at the price that he charges. And yeah, that's my introduction. I think yeah, I don't see myself really leaving anytime soon. And if I do get a job, because I'd like to know, I don't know everything, but I do know for the most part. I understand the concepts and everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chidera. Thank you. We are looking forward to you to getting a job. Believe me, it will speak volume for us for what we do here, and your friends will understand what we're doing here. So you're one of the guys, as much as I root for everybody, I think I have you, I'm rooting for you seriously because you're younger and I want you to succeed. As I want everybody here to succeed anyway. All right, the next person, Father, can you just make it brief, please, so we can dive in.
Yeah, okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Father Augustine Adimagwa. Of course, my background is philosophy, theology, liberal arts and science, in terms of education, but I've always had personal aptitude for science, math and sciences. I taught mathematics for a while in the middle school. Then from there, switched into networking. And during the layoff that took place almost 2.5 years ago, I was affected. So I said, you know what? I heard about cybersecurity. I said, let me explore it. And that's where we are now. And I have gone round the cycle. I'm preparing for the exam at the same time, preparing myself for a job in cybersecurity. So the new ones, they're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jonas, if you can say a few words. Thank you very much, Father. Really appreciate that.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonas here. I graduated from computer engineering, precisely Nigeria, back home, Essex to be precise. So when I came into the United States, actually, I deviated or diverted to something else. So I wanted to get into nursing, but I don't have passion over that. So after a while, a friend of mine, Bono Laka, introduced me to this particular program. And this actually has been a very helpful thing to bring me back to my field. And I'm so glad I have been here. And by special grace of God, I was able to get a certification as a cybersecurity cybersecurity plus. So, and I'm looking for a job at the moment. And apart from looking for a job, this program has actually opened my eyes to see the reality of technology, to see the reality of the future hope. And I welcome everybody that has this opportunity to be in this particular program because it is an endless one. And I thank our mentor as well at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Delight, please, if you can briefly introduce yourself to us so we know who you are and why you're here. Okay. All right, we can't really hear you. Not really hear you tonight. Unfortunately, the connection is very poor. We can't really hear you very well, but you are highly welcome. We know that you have the passion. The other day we had a session, you asked most of the question and you followed up, and I'm glad that you're here today. Just if you have any issue, if you have any question, throw it out in the forum. People that always put things that are very helpful in that forum. If you need to hit me up one-on-one or any of us one-on-one, you can always talk to anybody there in the forum and they will be happy to help. If I can't help you immediately, I will always tell you I'll research on it, or maybe me and you will work on it. We do that here, right, in the class. I might make a mistake on something that I'm instructing and somebody will correct me. Don't feel bad with me. I don't know everything. This technology world is very huge. Something that I read up yesterday, if I've never used it before, it might get off my head. I might have just read it to pass the exam. And the next time you ask me about it, I will not remember it. And just feel free to correct me if you see where I am not saying the right stuff. Okay. ISC Square Cap course domain CBK covers the risk management framework, categorization of information system, of implementation, security assessment, information system authorization, monitoring of security control, threat vulnerability management, scanning tools and scan report, and then incident response. To successfully deploy this IT system, you must understand the following security concept and processes. The first thing is asset. What's an asset? An asset are things like people, system, property, and information. An asset is what we try to protect. Just like you have your beautiful phone, you're not just protecting the phone because the phone is expensive, you're protecting the phone because of the data that is in it, personal information that you don't want other people to see. Your bank is there. You put fences in your houses. It's not fence in your houses. It's not because you just want to, but you want to protect it from intruders. You put insurance in your car, not because you can't just drive it, but in case if you have an accident. And so many things that we, with our dear money and love and everything, those are our assets. But in information technology, we protect the people that work for us, we protect the systems that they use, we protect the property that makes the business work, and the information that is produced in the business. The other thing that we are worried about is vulnerability or threat. Threat is something that you can't control. Threat comes from outside. Anything that can exploit a vulnerability intentionally or accidentally and obtain damage or destroy an asset. A threat is what we protect against. Example of threats are things like phishing, social engineering, malware, DOS, DDoS, and so on and so forth. We also have hurricanes. We have natural disasters. Those are also threats. Those are the things that exploit vulnerability. Then vulnerability is weakness or gaps in a security program that can be exploited by threats to gain unauthorized access to an asset. A vulnerability is a weakness or gap in our protection effort. We can manage vulnerability. And how do you cannot remove vulnerability. If somebody tells you that this is risk-free, that you're doing something is risk-free, there's nothing like risk-free. There's always a residual risk to anything that you're doing in life. Anything, eating, having fun, there's always a residual risk. And what we do as security analysts every day is to minimize the risk so that the likelihood of the threat and the impact that it will make on the asset is going to be minimized. That is your job. If somebody asks you, what is the job of a cybersecurity analyst? The job of a cybersecurity analyst is to mitigate risk to the minimum level that the impact that it will make to an asset or the likelihood of that threat is reduced. Will it happen? Oh, yeah. Companies these days are getting ransomware insurance and data breach insurance, because the question is not will it happen, is when will it happen? It will surely happen. So what we are working towards is making sure that when it happens, it does not make a lot of impact that the business will close. There are some businesses that have been hacked to closure, okay? They hacked them and they could not start again. They just closed, they folded, went out of business because of the amount of breach that they suffered. So these are some of the things that we try to protect as engineers, as analysts, as network analysts or network engineers, okay? But in this term, cybersecurity analysts. So likelihood, the probability that a potential vulnerability may be exploited within the construct of an associated threat environment, determined by analyzing the threats to an information system in conjunction with the potential vulnerability and the control in place. So what we do every day is to put controls, different type of control. They are called security controls. When you put that lock on your door, it's a security control. Okay, you have the gate, it's a security control. You put the gate man, even though you have the gate, you still put the gate man, it's a security control. You got a dog, it's a security control. You put a door in your house, put cameras, put motion detectors, all those things are security control, but they fall in different categories of security control. And the reason why we do multiple security is so that if somebody that has one particular skill set comes in, he has to have another skill set for the other one. Or if you want to evade our security, you have to evade multiple security. And in the process of evading those multiple security controls that you have, you could be stopped or maybe caught before you make a lot of damage in the network. So that's why we have a lot of security controls. A lot of controls, they are called layered security, or they are called, can somebody tell me what else is called? Those of us have been here before. It's either
cybersecurity.
Layered security. It's called layered security. If it's not layered security, it's called what?
In-depth security.
You said it backward.
Oh, security in-depth.
Security in-depth. Security in-depth. Yeah, English is not our language, but we have to try to understand where these people are coming from. That's where they always get us in the skill one. Understand the terminology. It's layered security or security in-depth. If I have a skill of picking locks and I come in there and I see that they have a cipher key, I have to get another guy that has the cipher key skill. Otherwise, I have to acquire all those skills. And by the time I acquire all those skills, which means the skill that I use to pick the key lock, my strength in the key lock and how quick I'll break the key lock is not the same level of quickness that I will apply on a cipher key. It's not the same that I will apply on a metal door or on a wooden door. They are different rates of breakage. So that's why it is encouraged to have different type of security controls as you build your security. That's why when you see a company, they will have a firewall, they will have an IDS, they will have IPS, they will have they even have firewall on the stations after they've have firewall from the exterior, from the perimeter network. So all those things are things that we do. The protection of information and information system from unauthorized access. Okay, what is information security? Is the protection of information and information system from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or disruption in order to provide confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You're hearing this for the first time and you will hear it for the rest of your life as a cybersecurity analyst. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That is the only three, that's the three key things that you're trying to protect in a company. You want to make the information and information system, you want to maintain their confidentiality so that those that have access are supposed to have access to information are the ones that have access to them, and those that are not supposed to should not have access to them. You want to make sure that the information and information system are not modified or destroyed, are not modified when they are not supposed to, or destroyed when they are not supposed to. You want to make sure that the information and information system are available when they are needed, It's not like you want to shop at eBay or shop at Amazon and Amazon website is down. Then you go to another company. They will be losing market right there. The goal of information security program is to understand and manage risks to information under the control of the organization. Information system. A discrete set of information resources organized for the collection, processing, maintenance, use, sharing, dissemination, or disposition of information. What is risk? Risk is the likelihood that a threat will exploit a vulnerability. A vulnerability is a weakness and threat is a potential danger. The result is a negative impact on an organization. Impact refers to the magnitude of harm that can be caused if the threat exercises a vulnerability. The reason why you put a case, look at me, I got a new phone. See the kind of jacket I put on this thing, because I know the worth of this, not just that, the data that is inside of this is even worth more than the device itself. And then I have a screen protector on it so that when it drops, it will not crack. Then again, I have fingerprint access, I have retina access, and I have special folder to put some personal information. All these things are reducing, minimizing the vulnerability of these assets so that even I have it that if you get this phone and you walk away from my house, it will lock. If you turn it off and turn it on, you need a password to boot it up. Otherwise, you won't even use it. All these things are risk management, risk mitigation. We are reducing the amount of vulnerability so that, will this thing, can I lose it? Yes, I can lose it. Can the screen still crack? Yes, it can still crack, but not by just dropping it mildly. Somebody has to probably exert some force to it. But I've reduced the risk of it cracking by just mere dropping it on the floor. So that is what we do as cybersecurity analysts. The level of impact on an organization operation including mission, function, and image or reputation. Reputation is something that we can quantify. Reputation of a company. Would you bank with a bank that is always breached? No. Would you go to shop at a place that there's always that's always robbed? Each time you go there, there's always somebody killed. You don't want to go to a neighborhood that people are always killed. So all those things are what we manage in an organization. The reputation, the image of a company cannot be quantified. And all these impacts can actually affect businesses. Organizational asset or individual resulting from the operation of an information system, given the potential impact of a threat. Risk can also be defined as the potential for loss, damage, or destruction of an asset as a result of threat exploiting a vulnerability. Purpose of risk management. The purpose of risk management, the primary goal of risk management is to reduce risk to a level that the organization will accept. Senior management is ultimately responsible for what we call residual risk. Residual risk is the risk that you can accept. I mean, there is an amount of risk that you will mitigate up to, you're like, no matter what, I still have to drive the car. Although people are dying, I still have to drive the car. but all I know is if I'm driving, I have to make sure that my car is maintained, the tires are good, I'm wearing my seatbelt when I'm supposed to, I'm using the traffic lights properly, driving on the right lane. That doesn't mean somebody cannot come from anywhere and hit you. And at the end of the day, the management of that organization takes the responsibility to say, whatever risk that remains is enough for us. We can accept this risk as residual risk. And when that is accepted as a residual risk, it becomes the security posture of that organization. So company A and company B might be manufacturing the same thing. There might be paint industry, they are manufacturing paint, but the way they handle risk is different. What their management accepts as a residual risk is different from what company B accepts as their residual risk. So not because they are the same company or they manufacture the same product, that their risk appetite will be the same. No, because the buck stops on the management table. They decide what are risks that can be accepted by the organization. There are 4 ways that we use to manage risk. One of them is risk avoidance. When you avoid risk, you have chosen not to mitigate it. You have chosen not to even engage in the risk at all. Risk avoidance is the opposite of risk acceptance. Because of the risk involved, you decide not to embark on a venture or a project because the risk outweighs the benefit. There are people here in this country today that don't want to go to Nigeria because of the risks that are involved in traveling back home. To them, the risk outweighs the benefit of jumping in the plane or getting in the plane and traveling home. But to some people, they don't mind going as long as they are able to mitigate the risk enough to an acceptable level, either by traveling at a certain time of the year, by not announcing that you're coming in, by various ways that people do that. Okay? Well, risk avoidance is just outrightly saying, I do not want to do it. I don't want to get involved. That's it. The next one is mitigating risk or reducing risk. This means you are lowering the risk to an acceptable level. You are reducing the risk so that even if there is an impact, okay, you are reducing the likelihood of the impact. Okay, so that is risk mitigation. The other one that we also do is risk transfer. Because you definitely have to travel, you might decide to put insurance on your life so that if anything happens, that risk that you took in taking that event, your family can then recoup financially on that. So you're transferring the risk to a different company. And that is like having an insurance in anything that you're doing. That is risk transfer. So we're on the third one, right? The fourth one is risk acceptance. Risk acceptance is when you look around and you say, I don't care. I'm not mitigating anything. I'm just going to go in and take it, whatever the outcome is. You know that your oil is leaking. And instead of taking it to the mechanic to fix the car, you just decide, hey, let me just risk it. If the car breaks down on the road, if I have an accident, I don't care. All I know is that I need to go to work. You just plunge in. Whatever comes at the other end, that is your luck. You didn't try to reduce the risk. You didn't try to manage the risk. You just accepted the risk and took the plunge. So these are the three types of risk management. You can either mitigate, accept, transfer, or avoid. I call it M, mitigate, avoid, transfer, or accept. Meter, somehow like that.
I think I have a question.
Go ahead, Jonas.
How is the risk acceptance different from the residual risk?
Is that what you wanted to ask, or risk acceptance different from residual risk? Residual risk is the remaining risk after risk management. Residual risk is the risk that I have decided to, okay, after I have minimized the risk, I can then accept this residual risk, because the impact that it will make in my organization or in my asset is very, very reduced, if any impact will ever come.
Okay, but so the major difference is that the other one has been reduced before you accept it, and the other one just accepted.
You have applied mitigation already. Risk acceptance is that you did not mitigate anything. You didn't try to reduce the impact. You understand?
Jonas.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
You hear me?
Well,
Okay. You bought a car and you looked at the car, you felt that the car is too old. You don't need to do anything about insurance on it, because you feel like if you get into an accident, nothing. You're not going to get inside of the car. Then you decide, you know what? I don't need insurance. I'm going to drive that car. And you probably drove it for 6 months or 1 year, no problem. You accepted the risk involved in if you have an accident, the police gets you or anything. Residual risk, you know there's a risk. You did something about the risk to bring it down. But no matter what you did, at the end, there's still a little bit of risk left. That's residual. Did you get it?
I do.
Austin, did I get it a little bit?
Yes, you did. You did explain it very, very well. I hope it explained it to everybody, because risk acceptance is just, hey, I don't want to do anything. I'm just going. It's raining, it's thundering, and you just walk into the rain with the electric poles that have fallen all over the place. You just get in. Or you try to put on a plastic all over yourself to avoid electrocution and try to dare to do it. You might still, you have reduced the risk. So the residual risk is that the probability of you getting shocked has been reduced because you're wearing a rubber all over you, okay? But accepting the risk is just like, just butt naked, you just, you just walk into the rain with power poles falling all over the place, okay? So I hope that explained it to you.
Yes.
All right. So residual risk is after mitigation. Accepted risk is without mitigating nothing. You didn't try to reduce it at all. And you don't want to call residual risk accepted risk at all. No. The terminology there is residual. Okay?
Residual, after you've made every effort, whatever is left is residual risk.
Now let's switch gear to another thing that we deal with as cybersecurity analysts. Access control processes. When you walk up to a computer, the first thing the computer asks you, who are you? Then you supply your information, your username and your password, and you hit enter, or you click OK. This computer will go in and look on its database. Does this username match the password? The password might be right, but it's not the username. It looks like Saul, but it's not Jacob. It looks like Jacob, but his voice is different. That's identification. So the computer will want to identify who this is. And that identification process is called authentication. Identification and authentication goes hand in hand. You identify yourself. The way you identified yourself will determine if you will be authenticated or not. Okay? So, no problem, Yamaka. So, the authentication process asks the question, who are you? Provide proof that you are who you say you are. Then the authorization process is, before I continue, let me just give you a scenario. I always like to use the hotel. You book the hotel online with your credit card, and on the day that you're going to check into the hotel, you walk up to the hotel lobby. The first thing they will ask you is to identify yourself. You tell them, hey, I booked a room here, and I am supposed to check in at so and so time. They ask you, okay, on what name did you book it with? You say your name, they say, okay, can we have your ID and your credit card? You bring your ID and your credit card, they will use that to identify that this is you, and that information that they have in their database corresponds with you. And they check the credit card, that was the credit card that you booked it with, whatever. That is the first phase. They have identified you. You are now in the building. The next thing now they will now look is that, are you in the penthouse? Are you in the suite? Or are you in one of the kitchen rooms? That is authorization. Okay? And then they take you into the room that you're supposed to be. They have authorized you into the room. But then even as you are in the room, depending on the level of authentication, you might be authorized to use the gym. You might be authorized to drink that bottle of wine that is in the fridge, to drink that DiGiorno pizza, or to eat that DiGiorno pizza that is in the fridge. And if you're not authorized, or if you're authorized, at the end of the day, when you check out, the cleaners are going to come in with a checklist. The water has been drank, check. Wine has been drank, check. The pillowcase is missing, check. The bed cover is missing, check. The towel is missing, check. And that is the accounting, the monitoring, the auditing of anything that you do. That is what computers do. When you log into a computer, the level of access that I have and the level of access that you have is based on the authorization that has been given to us by the admin of that system. Sometimes there are computers that are designed to give you administration based on your qualification, based on your tag. This is used in the military. If you're in the military and you are on a certain level, a certain rank, you are authorized, like the military classifies their data as classified, okay, top secret, secret, classified, and unclassified. And your level or your ranking determines your access to the data that is in the office. Okay? You can be a top ranking general, but you are not authorized to certain classified information because of how it will impact your platoon or the people that are under you. Okay? So these are different authorization. In a computer or in a network environment, we maintain authorization using what they call ACL, access control listing. When you walk into a building of an organization, let's say you have an interview. You've been scheduled the interview, the date that you will appear, you showed up early, you come to the lobby, the security guard there will ask you, who are you? You say your name. What are you here for? I came for an interview. Who are you to meet? You say the name. The first thing they do is they take your ID, correspond it. Okay, you have a 3 o'clock interview with Mr. Jones. And they will log you in and you sign in. And in that interview, you are to have the interview in the conference room. And if you need to use the restroom, you have access to the restroom. You do not have access to the kitchen. You do not have access to the cubicles of the other workers. You do not have access to the DiGiorno that is in the fridge. All those things are part of authorization. So I hope I explained it very well in terms of, it's called the AAA. Sometimes people don't mention the identification part. So when you hear the AAA, is authentication, authorization, and accounting that is in computer. So identification, identify is a claim. You claim, I am Mr. Des. Then identification alone is weak because there is no proof. You can claim to be who you are. Providing an identity claim is called authentication. Okay? When you provide an authentication, an identity claim, you are now being authenticated. You authenticate the identity claim usually by supplying a piece of information or an object that only you possess, such as password or a driving license. Authorization, this describes the action you can perform on a system once you have been identified and authenticated. Action may include reading, writing, executing files, or programs. You will see there are some files and some folders that some people have access to. They are able to read the file, make changes on it, save it. But when you click on that on the same file, it will reject those actions, or you can read it, but you can't change it. Those are different authorizations. And we do that with computer access control list. Windows has its own access control list, which I showed you guys on one of the labs that we did, how we applied share permission and security permission on an object. And you guys saw that when we applied the security control, we were not able to change it. At the point we weren't even able to open it. At the point we're able to open it, but we can't even make changes. If you make changes, you can't save it. So all these are part of the AAA. Then accountability. Holding users accountable for their actions. This is typically done by logging and analyzing audit data. Every action you take on a computer device has a log. Your cell phone has a log. That's why during investigation, they are able to pull your communication to the towers and see how you have traveled, because log is done after the action. You take the action, it logs. So log is always an aftermath of the action. It's used for investigation, for forensics. When you're doing forensic analysis, you need logs. The logs will tell you the trail path that somebody took, or after he clicked at this time of the hour, he tried to access this, he accessed this folder, he opened it. And then at this hour, he opened the file. He was able to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this confidential file, which was clearly marked employee salary, he tried to open it. He was able to open it, then he tries to make a change. All these things has time stamps. So you can actually say the time he did this, did that. You can actually tell a story of what that individual is doing. And when he couldn't print and when he couldn't change it, he tried to print it. And when he sent it to the printer, it printed or it did not print. All those things are logged. That is the part called accountability. Now, there are different forms of authentication. There are different types of authentications that we use. One that we know very well is just show your face, okay? Or say, I am this, I am that. Something you know. You say, I am the person I am because I went to school with you, and you remember that night something happened because only you and that person knows that, or only you knows that. So the first authentication factor that we have is called something you know. Something you know is things like password, pins, swipes, things that you had to memorize, things that you need, that only you know. And if someone else knows that, they can actually claim your identity. That's why data breaches, the first thing they go is to steal people's identity. And they can sell it in the market because the person that has it can actually try to claim to be you. The second one is something you have. In the banking world today, you're either given a token or you use your phone. When you try to log into anything these days, they will want to send you an OTP, which is called one-time password. Oh, this girl left. Okay. Let's see that. All right. That's what is called OTP, one-time password. You put something you know, which is either your PIN or your password. Then the next one that will come will be something that you have. It has to be sent to either the token or your phone or something that they know only you should have, not always. Then the third one is called something you are. Something you are is something that you carry around. It is you. It's your fingerprint. It's your retina scan. It's your eyelid scan. It's your facial structure scan. It's the way you speak, your voice. It's your gait when you walk. It's your saliva for DNA. These are something you are. Then we also have somewhere you are and something you do. Something you know. This could be a password or a PIN. That has to be, or something you have gone to a party where you'll be given a secret word. And when you get to the door, you say the secret word. If somebody else knows that secret word, it becomes an open sesame and closed sesame. Something you have. This could be your ATM card. Just like when you go to an ATM, you can't just put the card and get the money. No, that is something you have. Then you have to put the PIN. That's something you know. Okay? If they also ask you for your retina scan, that is something you are. Something you are, this is something that makes you you. Biometrics, which is your fingerprint, your retina, your facial structure, your DNA. Then other ones, and also you could see that number one is called the type 1. Number 2, something you have is called type 2. Something you are is called type 3. In an exam, if they say that you were authenticated with a type 1 authentication factor, know that they're talking about something you know. If they say that you're authenticated with type 3, it is biometric. So the exam will ask you based on that sometimes. Then somewhere you are, this is done based on your geolocation, IP address, longitude and latitude, GPS. Sometimes we travel overseas and you try you try to use your card and it will deny you because of somewhere you are. The system knows that you have always used your card in the United States and today it's being used in Afghanistan. This is not going well. It will reject you. The other one is something you do. Something you do is like your signature. They also say that they can actually listen to the way you type. Each individual has a way they type. The way they hit the keyboard, the sound they make when they hit the keyboard, the pressure that they use when they hit the keyboard. And they can listen to it and use it to determine something you do. If they really want to hack you with something you do, it must be a very difficult, it must be an APT doing that. Now, talking about authentication method. When you are authenticated by one of the factors, either something you know, something you have, or something you do, or somewhere you are, it is called one-factor authentication. If you're authenticated with one in between the two, in between the five, if you're authenticated with something you know and something you have, that becomes a two-factor authentication or a multi-factor authentication. So when somebody talks about, I need you to configure a strong authentication, what they mean is make it more than one authentication. Let it be a two-factor or more authentication. Use one of the 2, 3 factors in authenticating that individual or that system or whatever thing that you're trying to authenticate.
Yeah.
So strong authentication is the application of more than one form of authentication factor. A lot of companies have rolled out multi-factor authentications, and one company that a lot of people use so much is a Cisco Duo. Cisco Duo is a company that manufactures, they used to make, well, they still have hardware tokens, okay? Because you might be in an area that you're not able to get reception. Lately, where I am in my office, I don't get good reception. And when I try to use my phone as a two-factor, sometimes it fails. That way, you can have a token, or you can have the system call your number and either call you on a land phone or on your cell phone, depending on which signal that you're getting. So these are forms of authentication. Does anybody have a question before I move to the next topic? So we have done, go ahead.
Yeah, sometimes people tend to confuse themselves by thinking that two-factor authentication is when you use more than one type of authentication. Like he explained it had to be from two of.
Yes.
Just because you put a login and put on a password does not make it two-factor authentication.
If you use PIN and a password, that does not make two-factor authentication. If you use your credit card and your cell phone, that is not two-factor authentication. You are still on one factor.
Yep.
You're still on something you have. It has to be something you know, a PIN, and something you have, your phone or your ATM card. That's when it now becomes a strong authentication, which is what servers do. When you're trying to communicate to a server, Amazon, I use Amazon a lot because that's where we shop for everything these days. There's always a strong authentication because not only that the server is authenticating you, you are also authenticating the server because of the certificates that you have exchanged with the server. So that's called strong authentication also, because there's a dual handshake between the two of you. Okay. But I don't want you to confuse yourself with that. That is on when we start doing cryptography. All right. Now let's talk about the most important part of cybersecurity, which is what we try to protect every day in cybersecurity. That is the CIA Triad. The main goal of information security is to protect information and information systems, which can be logical or physical. To achieve this goal, the principle known as the CIA Triad is applied. The CIA Triad is not the American CIA. What's the full meaning again? Ogemeka, help me.
Central Intelligence Agency.
It's not Central Intelligence Agency. We're talking about confidentiality in data, integrity of the data, and the availability of the data, which is information or information system. So it's not Central Information Agency. You see some people will because it sounds like CIA, they will turn it the other way. AIC, some people will call it ICA. You can use it anyhow you want. But to make it memorable, and because we're talking about security, CIA sounds cool. And that's what we will use. What is confidentiality? Preserving authorized restriction on information access and disclosure, including means for protecting personal privacy and proprietary information. Okay? When you lose confidentiality in an asset, is the unauthorized disclosure of that information. When someone that is not supposed to have access to an information has access to it, that's a disclosure of confidentiality. You have lost the confidentiality of that data. Another one is...
May you go back to the first slide, please?
Mute yourself, okay? Integrity is guarding against improper information modification. If somebody has access to a bank information and is able to change their banking record, those days people will have access to their score report in school and they will give themselves a pass mark. Okay? Guarding against improper information modification or destruction. The destruction of it, like you see in Nigeria, where if anybody is caught, they will just set the house or the company or the secretariat or the ministry ablaze in order to cover up. That is destruction of information and includes ensuring information non-repudiation and authenticity. A loss of integrity is the unauthorized modification or destruction of information. So if somebody can go in there and make changes or destroy the information entirely, that's a loss of integrity. Availability, ensuring timely and reliable access to and the use of information. The information might be there. The server is up. But there are too many people hitting the server that nobody can even get access to the server. So what's the benefit of the server being up? The availability of the server or the information is not there. Somebody is dying and you need that person's medical record right away so that you know what that person is allergic to and you can't get that information. The person will die. That's availability of that information. Or if you get the information, somebody has already modified that the person is allergic to a medication that they are not supposed to be allergic to. Or that information has already been taken or someone already had access to it. Who is somebody who is not supposed to have access to it. So if you have access to it, you might have access to read it, but not to modify it, depending on the access list. So if you have access, breach of confidentiality, you might not have access to destroy it. You might not have access to deny the availability of it, but at least you have seen the information that you're not supposed to see. So a loss of availability is the disruption of access to or the use of information or an information system. A loss of availability is the disruption of access to or the use of information. I repeated myself right there. I can't believe I've always had this like this. Okay. All right. So that is the CIA Triad. Does anybody have a question before I push on? Any question? Everything moving fine, right? Thank you, my peoples. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, potential impact on organization and individuals. The Federal Information Publication Standard, FIPS. You have to know this. These are the things that I studied on Monday as I was preparing for my interview. I had to go through this slide, at least the first 6 slides, the first 7 slides that I used for this class, I had to go through them again. Not because I do this every day, you guys think I just store it somewhere. I might talk about it, but I still have to refresh my mind sometimes. That's why sometimes I want you guys to, you have to sleep this. You have to drink it. You have to sleep it. You have to shower with it. I don't know if anybody has gone as crazy as I went the first time I started going to this cybersecurity class. Everything I did in my car, I was playing everything cybersecurity. I subscribed to Audible. Instead of listening to radio, I listened to my Audible. I listened to everything cybersecurity every day. I still do. Like Professor Mess, each time I listen to Professor Messa's podcast, it's always so refreshing to me. I wish I will have time to go through. At least I've listened to the whole of this year's, except maybe the last 2 things I've done. Yeah. The study group. What?
When you say you use Audible to listen to the classes, how do you do that? Is it a class?
Not classes. I just bought a book on cybersecurity.
Okay.
I bought a book on cybersecurity. I just listened to cybersecurity because when you hear people talk about it in different forms and different ways, it starts making more sense to you. There are so many books that you can buy. Okay. Actually, there was one that I had the audio. I still have it. I have the audio, the MP3 file. It can be a little old, but cybersecurity is cybersecurity. No problem, Delight. I'm gonna send you the link, okay? Hardy. So cybersecurity is the same concept. It might have changed a little bit. There's new technology, but it's the same concept. The same thing is the same CIA triad that we're working on. You're either protecting confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data. Simple. But when you hear people tell stories of how they came into the field, what they have done, what they are doing, I mean, you know that you are on a good path. Your path, the path that you're taking is the right path. It's never easy. But one thing is you have to keep pushing and do your research. Ask people that are in the field. Join one of the study groups. Find a book. Look at the reviews, how people reviewed the book, what the impact that it has made on them. If you subscribe, you don't even need to subscribe. Even the unsubscribed version of Spotify, yeah, you just have to listen to the ads when it comes. They just play ads, or iHeartRadio, their podcast, or if you are an Apple guy, the Apple podcast, yes. You can listen to this. Listen to some of these things. You don't really have to pay for them. You can listen to them and just, hey, when the ads come, you just listen to the ads and then it continues. It just has to take you longer because you can't control. Even podcasts, you can't control it's just that you can't go back or forward. Or if you want to finish it in 1 hour, it will take you more than 1 hour because of that. So talking about FIPS, The Federal Information Publication Standard is a document that the United States government published to help to determine the impact and the likelihood of a threat to information and information systems. The FIPS publication, which you can actually go online. You know what? Let's do that. Go online and type FIPS 199. Enter. It will take you to the government site that talks about FIPS 199, which is what we're going to be talking about. Let's just look at the images. This is exactly what we will be dealing with for the next few days. Okay, we'll be talking about categorization, selection of select controls, implement controls, access controls, authorization, and monitoring. That's the NIST risk management framework that we'll be working on. Okay, and if you want to download the document that comes with this, that will be going to FIPS 199 and go to local download. This is this document that we're talking about. This document talks about how you categorize information types based on the impact and the likelihood of a threat to confidentiality, to availability, to integrity. That will now help you determine what level of protection. You cannot put a $10 lock on a $5 bicycle. You have to determine the validity or the value of an asset in order to know how much protection am I going to give. This is Samsung's flagship phone. And there is another phone that could be Techno. I don't care if the Techno drops on the floor. I won't even be doing my banking with the Techno phone because you don't know, maybe it was built in one Rungu in China. You don't know the type of viruses they have on it. You don't know who is spying you. So I won't even try that. But this is a flagship phone of which the company has put in their reputation online. If anything happens here, Samsung is going to suffer it. When they produced the Fire phone, the phone that was catching fire one time, they recorded and paid everybody back their money because they wanted to maintain their reputation. When they met the one that was cracking when you opened their Z Flip that they were making, and it was cracking, they didn't even release it anymore because it was still in the, they didn't even let it go out because people were complaining. The reviewers that were reviewing it were complaining that it was cracking. They don't want to ruin their reputation. And they had to hold back until they made it right. So to determine the type of security control to apply to an information type or an information system, you need to know the value of that asset to determine, am I going to lock it in a cage with a password? Before you get to it, you need a retina scan, you need 2-factor, 3-factor, multi-factor authentication to get into it. Do I need to put a brick wall, 2 brick walls, lights, cameras, and so on because of the value of that data or that information or that asset? It's not just even human being. When you hear that some soccer players insure their legs, it's because of the value of the leg. Or it's because of the value that is placed on the leg. Okay? You cannot go and pick a child, somebody playing Spartans or one Rungu league in Nigeria, start insuring his leg because He's of no value. You can't compare him with Ronaldo or Messi or Neymar. Okay, so that is what this document helps us to decide if the impact on this asset, how does it affect the confidentiality of this information? How does it affect the integrity of this information? How does it affect the availability of this information? Based on the level of impact, we now say, okay, if the confidentiality is high, availability is high, integrity is high, this is a very high value information. So we will not have to put the optimal level of control on it in order to protect it. So the application of this definition, okay, FIPS defines 3 levels of potential impact on an organization or individual should there be a breach of security. Should there be a breach of security? If somebody steals a laptop that you just use for like a kiosk, like people use it to find where the office is or which room to go, you don't care. That's a laptop that you don't want to put a whole lot in it. But if it is a laptop that actually contains health information, people's health information, you will guard it with care. You make sure there is password on it. Make sure people uses their fingerprint to log into it. And even when you are authenticated, the authorization part, it's not because you logged in that you have access to those. Okay, so that is where we're now breaking it down. And see, all those things that we did is now coming into place to make sense why we do what we do as security analysts. The application of these definitions must take place within the context of each organization. Like I said, this company makes paint. This company makes paint. But whenever these guys want to deliver their own paint, they will hire a truck that has borders around it and everything. The shock absorbers are good to make sure that they deliver it to the person. And the other guy wants to deliver it, just junk it in a trunk and in a tipper, in a truck and deliver it. Whether it gets there, when it gets there, even if all of them mixes each other and so on, he doesn't care. They are the same company. They produce the same thing. So the organization and the overall national interest, this is where FIPS is now. FIPS is federal government. Okay, let me tell you guys a story about NIST. The NIST, which is, FIPS is under NIST, okay? Federal Information Publication Standard is under NIST, National Information of Standard and Technology. What they do is they produce they create standards that governs different technology, different industries. The energy industry has what they call NERC SIP, not American Electrical reliability. I know what it is. Okay, it's NERC. Then SIP is, Jesus Christ. My brain is dead. All right, whatever it is, but NERC SIP is like, when you read it, you will see that it mimics NIST Special Publication 800.37, which is Risk Management Framework. Exactly. It has about 13 different levels. But when you go through the levels, you could see categorization, selection of controls, segmentations, implementations, all those levels, those 6 levels, you see them play around in the 13 different steps of NERC. Okay? Now, so that's what we'll be looking at, how CIA impacts how we make the final decision on the type of controls to apply to information and information systems. So potential impact on organization and individual. The loss of any of the CIA triad is measured in 3 categories. There are 3 categories that if any of them is impacted, based on the impact that it exerts to an organization or individual, it's called risk density. The risk density is measured either as high impact, moderate impact, or low impact. Okay? It is measured in 3 different categories: high, moderate, or low. I did not say high, mid, and low, please. High, moderate, and low, not mid. Don't go out there and start saying mid. You sound like you don't know what you're talking about. It's high impact, moderate impact, and okay. The potential impact is low. When do we say that it's low? When do we say that this breach of information is low? Because of what? Why did you term this breach of information low? Somebody just stole your laptop and you're not even freaking out. You just say, I don't mind. And the information is a low impact to the confidentiality and integrity and availability of that data. I don't care. So the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability could be expected to have a limited adverse effect on an organizational operation, organizational asset, or individual. So when it has a very limited adverse effect, I mean, you come to a company and they just had a breach and everything is going on as usual. There's no news, there's nothing. Nobody knew that anything happened, except those that are in the IST department knows that, oh, there was a breach last night, but we were able to take care of it before it escalated. Okay, so it has a very limited effect. It does not affect the primary purpose of that company. So a limited adverse effect means that, for example, the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability can cause a degradation in the mission capability to an extent and duration that the organization is able to perform its primary function, but the effectiveness of that function is noticeably reduced. Noticeably reduced. So if it's not noticeably reduced, can't even quantify it, can't even categorize it. Results in a minor damage to an organizational asset, result in a minor financial loss, or results in a minor harm to individual. Remember, each of these things, the primary thing to protect is individual life. When you come to an exam and they say impact to this, and impact to life is higher than any other thing on that list. Now, it is moderate. When do we say it's moderate? It is a moderate to the CIA triad if the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability could be expected to have a serious adverse effect on an organizational operation, organizational asset, and individual. A serious adverse effect means that, for example, the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability caused a significant degradation in mission capability to the extent and duration, not just the extent, the duration that it can happen just in a few seconds and everybody recovered. The duration that the organization is able to perform its primary function, but the effectiveness of that function is significantly reduced. Like on a Christmas night or on a Christmas shopping week, Amazon website is just crawling. Okay, that's a high impact because they'll be losing a lot of money. Okay, results in a significant damage to organizational assets, results in a significant financial loss, or results in a significant harm to individual that does not involve loss of life, serious life threat. Like I said, depends on organizational residual risk. Result in significant financial loss. Every second for Amazon is billions. Every second for your little company is nothing. So you cannot use one company's security posture to equate to another company's security posture. So that's why the final decision of residual risk has to be made by the managers, the CEOs, those on top. They decide what the residual risks are so that if anything starts happening, you say so. So the potential impact is high if the loss of confidentiality or availability could be expected to have a severe or catastrophic adverse effect on an organization, operation, organizational asset, or individual. Amplification, a severe or catastrophic adverse effect means that, for example, the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability might cause a severe degradation in the loss of mission, capability to the extent and duration that the organization is not able to perform one or more of its primary functions, results in a major damage to the organizational asset, results in a major financial loss, results in a severe and catastrophic harm to individual involving loss of life or a serious life-threatening injury. When something like 9/11 happened, that is a very high effect to the CIA triad. All right. Does anybody have a question? Otherwise, I am going to call it a night for today. We still have a lot to cover, but we'll continue again tomorrow. Does anybody have a question? Any question? All right. I hope everybody enjoyed this class. It's always very interesting starting these classes, seeing the face of everybody. I didn't see your face, but I can imagine what your faces are. I want you to start digging deeper, start reading more beyond what we've just done, because I'm only going to show you the way. I'm going to lead you to the stream, but I'm not going to force you to drink the water. I'm here to tell you how the water is, describe the water to you, tell you how cool it is. I've been drinking on this stream for a long time. It's up to you to dip your head and start drinking. Google, glue, glue, glue is your best friend. There is nothing you cannot find there. Even before you finish typing, somebody has typed it already. They know that somebody has looked for it. We are in the information age. Every solution to everything you think of has been found. It's for you to know how to find where the answers are. I don't think there's any question that you ask today on this earth that nobody hasn't conceived about it or hasn't asked about it. So it's left for you to find where those information are. That's why sometimes I wonder why it's been so difficult for some of us to like say, hey, I built a lab or I did this. There are tons and tons of videos. Just type it on that white background with one search bar called Google, the way you think of it, the way it comes in your brain, just start typing and you will see it will fill it in for you and you say, wow, it knows exactly what I'm talking about. And boom, it will come. Not only you're searching text, you're searching video, you're searching images also. You can even shop if you want to shop. All this information are out there. And the more materials that you surround yourself with, you see it from different perspectives, different people's perspective, which makes it, you know, like I said, I don't have TV in my house. I only use subscription TV. Like for the Olympics, I just subscribe for 1 month that they're gonna do the Olympics, and I canceled it by the end of the Olympics. If I want to watch anything, I watch Netflix. If I want to watch, I just watch that. I don't listen to news. I have these over-the-air antenna that a friend of mine gave me. I connected it to my main TV in the living room. If I want, I just watch local TV and listen to the news. That's it. I'm always listening. If I go to work out, I do a 1 hour workout. Okay. If I go out to walk, like walking or running, I have my earpiece and I'm listening to one audiobook, or I'm listening to one Udemy course that I bought. There are some courses that you will buy that requires practical, not just listening. But things like Security Plus certification stuff, they are always audio instructions. You can listen to them anytime. That's why things like Professor Mesa, you can listen to it because there's no practical thing. It doesn't need to have your computer start clicking. You can listen to it. You can even subscribe if you like YouTube. He has his classes on YouTube. So you don't have to have your screen on all the time. If you subscribe to YouTube, I think YouTube has it. Google has a podcast now. I think that's a different subscription too. But if you subscribe to YouTube, you can always shut down your screen and keep listening. Create your playlist. You can create your playlist from the videos that you want to listen. Listen to your own playlist that you've created. Like recently, I created behavioral interview questions. I have like 10 different videos that I put on that list. And the good thing when you create that list, it will be playing in sequence. One finishes, the next one finishes. Okay, I don't subscribe to it. So the ad, I just wait for the ad, or if it's somebody that I like and I want to do favor to, I just let the ad play so that they can make some money too. They are spending their time making those videos. I might as well help them make some money so they can be creating more videos for us. So if you have any question, you can ask. Otherwise, we can call it a night. I hope everybody enjoyed today's opening session, and we'll meet again tomorrow at the same time.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Thank you
if you
so
have
much.
a question, thank you. If you have a question, put it in the forum. Delight, I'm going to put the video for you. I don't put all my videos. This is an intellectual property. I will also put the slides. I normally put the slides, but I'm not going to put the slide today because this slide continues. I'll put it when we finish it tomorrow. Okay. But this video, yes, you get a copy of it. All right, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening and have a good morning. See you tomorrow.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.